I figured she watches anyways.
Not all the time. She's got her own life.
That's
Sometimes
fair.
she's busy.
Well, welcome back to Escape Reality Star Wars Talk. I'm your host, Caleb. Yeah, that was mine.
Nice fucking try. I saw that.
You still had the conversation with me, though.
Yeah. What, am I gonna stop talking in the middle of it?
Yes, for the bit. You gonna introduce?
Hi,
Yeah.
I'm Seth. I talk Star Wars with this man whenever he doesn't try to pull a fast one on me. Sometimes I talk with him anyway.
Well, we also like to talk about what we've been up to this week other than Star Wars.
Yeah.
Because we don't have any other podcasts, so...
So sometimes you guys just get, like, a good half hour of us rambling about stuff that is unrelated.
So let's talk about what we've been up to this week. I'll let you start while I try to figure out my thoughts.
I've been working, getting reacquainted with the controls of Elden Ring. Because,
DLC.
the DLC will be here soon. Me and Sky the other night, we were also talking about, like, whether or not I would enjoy Cyberpunk.
Yeah. You already know what I was internally laughing about, but go ahead.
Don't you motherfucker.
Keep going.
And I was like, I was like, I don't know what kind of build I would do. I'd probably end up doing the thing that I always do, which is make a long distance sniper. And
Yeah.
I was explaining that. He was like, it's probably a stealth build or something like that, because I tend to default into doing that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because I like it. I'm like, look, I'm not opposed to just going and clearing the whole place out, but when I have the option to, I prefer to just walk by people and not have that be a problem.
Yeah.
And apparently I can buy it for PlayStation 4. It costs $50.
Yeah, it's on PS4, but it's still full price. I don't think you can get the. Can you get Can you get Liberty on it?
No.
No, I didn't think so.
But considering that it came out in 20 and the last update back in the year of 2020, and the last update that it says is available on that game, the most up-to-date one for PlayStation 4 is from 2022, it might be worth getting.
Yeah, I mean, there's probably still some fixes that they did enough to make it runnable on PS4.
Yeah.
Surprised the DLC isn't on there, but also I'm not.
Yeah.
The DLC basically makes the game even better. And it really sets up the arc of probably where they're going next with like the next game. But yeah,
All right.
nice.
What about you, man?
Mostly been writing for the games that are coming up. Because we're back. Because now I'm done with my thing. Also, apologies. This is a pre-recorded episode. We did not acknowledge that yet. I am a liar, but it's not my fault.
He's a liar. It isn't his fault. I am the reason.
Really, it's work is the reason.
Yeah.
But yeah, we basically found out like not quite last minute, but just about last minute that
I realized while I was looking at my schedule for this week, while I was planning something else, for my personal life.
Yeah, basically when we normally record, he was going to be at work.
I was like, fuck, I have to be at work.
So, we did not do a Thursday this time though, because we were not finishing the book by Thursday.
No, we were not.
So we did a Friday. So it's only a day early this time. But we finished the book.
We finished it. I got it done last night.
I got it done this morning during afternoon. Like as I was listening to it while work whenever it was slow. I would have to 2x speed it sometimes just to make sure I finished it. I still caught what was going on, but I'm like, God damn it! I want to hear Mark Thompson and I want to enjoy the music and the sound effects, but I gotta finish the book.
Gotta get it done.
We do now have a physical copy though,
Hmm?
because I did get that yesterday.
Yeah.
Yeah. I like the cover art for this. I really do. I think this is great cover art. But that's getting off topic. That on topic, but off topic.
Yeah.
I watched. Well, I guess for the group watch, we did Life is Strange last night, and that was. So Britt played Life is Strange for me. I made like the dialogue choices, but she did all the puzzle solving and stuff. Unless she thought I could solve them, sometimes she would make me do it. But most of the time she was just like, to avoid going back in time a bunch, I'm just gonna solve this one. Like she did the bottles one all by herself because she's like, it's the one everybody hates, and I'm just gonna do this one, and then not make you figure out where they are, and then she did have me try to memorize some of the stuff in the diner, like remember the order that things happen in and what happens. Although the cockroach, much like everybody else, I missed the cockroach. I did not notice it. But also, I'm watching her play it through Discord, so some tinier details get lost in the mix because playing over Wi-Fi. But we're almost done with Highlander too. That's this week.
Yeah.
Did you see me post the event?
I saw a notification. I didn't look at it.
I basically just I added a photo because like I'm trying to get more cool with the event, so I added a photo, much like I did for the Grim Hollow one. It's just the Highlander season 1 poster, and then because we're finishing up season 1 more episode, so we're doing the finale, and then I did put the like episode like synopsis, not the summary. So like I went to IMDb and was like, what's the like synopsis that doesn't give anything away? It still gives something away, but I just still copied and pasted it because it's a thing that happens in that episode pretty much immediately. It's not a mystery. Darius dies.
No.
It's like within the first couple minutes though of that episode, from what I remember. So, because the mystery is like finding the people who did it, like that's so, and who the other immortal that Connor works with to find those people. But yeah, so we're gonna do the finale, and then we're probably gonna watch start season 2 immediately. So, as far as like other stuff I did this week, played some Hunters. Not a lot, not as much as I would have liked, but I've just been.
I haven't picked it up since we talked about
it. I'm basically at least trying to keep the season in mind and try to, like, since I paid for the pass, I'm gonna try to finish the season at least. Like, I already put money into it. I'm gonna at least get my money's worth out of it. I'm gonna grind a little bit.
I didn't put any money into it.
Yeah, so you've already you're like, I got my money's worth. Nintendo Direct happened. Some cool stuff got announced. Metroid Prime 4. We got a little bit more of a look on that. I don't know how. I mean, I know you don't have a Switch, but I don't know if you still are like, oh, Nintendo stuff, cool. New Zelda game got announced where you get to play as Zelda, and it's like a 2D sort of like, well, it's like a it's a 3D like, but it's like one of those classic looking 2D point like 2.5 like. How they do with like
2.5D,
like it's that design that they do for like the remakes of the older games, like they did with Link to the Past or Link's Awakening rather, where it's like that sprite kind of look, but it's still like a 3D sprite. You know what I mean? So it looks cute, and hey, you get to play as Zelda. So now the joke is now you do get to play as Zelda because everybody's like, it's called Legend of Zelda. You play as Link, and of course. There's also the other side of that, which is the people that we were talking about for the Acolyte before recording.
Speaking of Zelda, me, Chris, and Sky were up late talking about like games and lore, and I do remember
the Zelda lore was wild.
Me and Sky being like, "Hey Chris, do you remember that time that Ganondorf was just like a big old pig demon?"
Yeah, well, that would be like the first game.
Yeah. Because that's what he starts out as.
Yeah, no. Zelda lore, like, the Legend of Zelda lore is so wild that Nintendo's like,
We don't know.
Here's a timeline we made up last minute to appease everybody. And it's probably not even accurate 100% because even the fans are like, some of these games should be switched around. But yeah, and then the one I'm most excited though because I love Mario Party is the new Mario Party coming out, and it's got 20 players. You can have 20 players.
There will be wars.
I know I want to try to stream it. I want to get some friends together to stream it. I also know if I bring it to your house, there will be war because of Kinsey and Tori, and I know how they get about Mario Party. It gets pretty aggressive.
Steal my fucking star again, you motherfucker.
We also can't do teams if there's a team option because I know how that goes. Because if Tori is teamed up with Drew, she will be just frustrated with Drew, and because Drew's gonna be so relaxed, not really. He's like gonna be playing, but he's not like he's not he's not competitive about it.
Me and Andrew, who have played a lot of co-op games with each other because we're siblings and have spent most of our lives together, are pretty chill about it.
Thing is, Mario Party is a competitive game. Like, people get competitive, and so if you are not competitive, you're the asshole and not the competitive people. Which is why, like, because we did the teams in Super Mario Party when I brought it that one time. We did the teams, and she got so mad at him. She was like, "We need to be winning."
Tori, who normally spends most of her video game time, like, either in
she plays a lot
multiplayer shooters.
She does a lot of competitive games to begin with, so like I'm not surprised about this competitive nature of Tori. Like, it makes sense.
Or town builders.
Yeah,
she loves her town builders.
Which that's her cozy. That's like her okay. Because you got your cozy side of gaming where there's your game that you pick that you're like, oh, this is the game I just relax and chill with, and that's why the cozy genre as a whole exists. The Animal Crossings, the Stardew Valleys, which I started playing a couple weeks ago. You know, because I got a copy for free from a contest. Hey, I like it so far. I need more time into it, but
it may say something that most of my cozy games are exploring death worlds.
But you know what I mean? Like, everybody has their game that they just turn their brain off on and they just play. And so, whether that's just exploring like Elden Ring's world and just not worrying about the villains, just like exploring, or if that's building your town simulators, like your Dreamlight Valleys, your Stardew Valleys, your...
I remember, this is a fun...
But then there's also the competitive side. Yeah. I think everybody has that side to them, but it depends on, like, the type of gamer you are, on whether that, like, comes out in your gaming choices. Like, you don't play a lot of online games, so, like, that's not your... Like, it doesn't come out in that form.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know where it comes out, actually. I don't know, but I'm not sure where you're competitive, like, if you have a competitive nature, really.
I think me and Andrew, I think maybe over the years, I just lost so many times as just, like, it doesn't matter if I win.
I think, though, I think a competitive nature can still be held. Like, I think it can still be fine to be, like, competitive in the moment. It's if you're still mad after that it stops being healthy.
Like, I think I'm just so, like, for me, it's been, like, couch co-op with my brother and my dad, and all of us running around, like, with my siblings, like, Annalise Lee.
Yeah.
All of us will gladly play Call of Duty against each other.
So that's, I guess that's where your competitive side is. It's in those.
I'm just not
but it's
as
like,
verbal about it.
It's just more it's more couch co-op, less online multiplayer.
Yeah, but because couch co-op is
slowly being dissolved for no good reason.
Yeah.
I agree on that point. Like, I like my multiplayer games online. Like, I like my online games, but I also agree that there should still be couch co-op, and well, I'm glad that Baldur's Gate 3 had that option. And, like, they fought for that. Like, they made sure, like, because that's why it wasn't on Xbox for a while. They were like, no, we want this in there, and it's got to be good. And Xbox was like, well, it's not working on all of our consoles, so... And eventually they found a solution, thankfully, but, yeah.
Oh man,
So
thinking about it, I do remember at one point Andrew was like, "Hey Seth, you need to stop playing like Nazi zombies," and I'm like, "Why?" And he's like, "Seth, you just did a perfect Tank Dempsey impression without any hesitation." And it's not that Tank Dempsey is like a bad character. It's just that like I so you know I like to play games on almost entirely silent, right?
mm-hmm.
Well, one of the things is despite the volume being on 5, sometimes I can still hear things.
Yeah, you've got like dog ears. Like you can hear that shit, man. I could never.
But then again, most of the time when I'm playing games, I'm by myself and there's not a lot of noise going on.
Yeah.
Ah, great. Leave it up to me to kill them all.
But yeah, so that we kind of went off track. But yeah,
Yeah.
that's. I mean, I'm excited because I'm like, oh, 20 player game and the map, more map variety, because that's. I think that is my.
I both look forward to the day you bring it over and dread it.
And then so there's a lot of fun things going on, and I'm excited. It's fun to it's fun to be a fan of anything, honestly.
Yeah.
At this point, you've got your Elden Ring coming, and that's exciting.
Yeah, I gotta go find Mikola, and I might have to go and argue with him about whether or not he should bring his brother back from the dead.
And apparently, like, people are joking on TikTok that the new bosses are going to be so bad because you need like some of the bosses you've already kicked their asses of, and as part of as part of the story, like you need them to help you. And it's just like, if I need your help, what the fuck am I about to go up against? Because they mentioned like Prime whatever version of it, because I don't know, I haven't beaten the game. I'm a poser for Elden Ring.
So in order to like even get to the DLC,
Yeah.
right? You need to go and I guess you can go and look up what they look like over there. You need to beat Radon, who, when you kill him, a fucking meteor drops from the sky to let you know how strong that guy is. And Moog, one of, in my opinion, the hardest bosses in the game. Not because he actually has a diverse moveset, but because he fucking flings his own blood around the arena and that causes you to bleed.
Oh, so he's a dirty cheater.
He's a dirty cheater. And if you don't have the specific, like, bubble tier for your fucking magic potion, he will, at one point, before he switches over to phase 2, he'll perform a little spell, right?
Mm-hmm.
And what that spell does is it doesn't fully heal him, but it gets him back up to like 60, 80%.
Mm-hmm.
But if you don't have the little bubble in your thing, it also will do damage to you. So you can heal through it if you have all of your stuff in order like it's supposed to be. But if you don't, you're in for like the worst time in your life.
Oh, fun.
An additional detail is this fucker flies. He flies, man.
They fly now.
They fly now. That's what phase 2 is. He flings more blood everywhere, and he flies away. Like a bitch. Yes! I've killed him 7 times, and I'm still mad about it.
Okay. Well, let's go ahead and, because we do have news.
Yeah.
So, we have a lot of, we could talk about these things for hours. Much like, yeah, so let's just dive on in before we get too much further distracted. We got a few pieces of news this week to talk about. The first is something I think we're both interested to see, despite your hesitation into getting into the first season. Because I had to drag you into the first season.
I'm not as hesitant. I'll do it this time.
And that's Young Jedi Adventure Season 2. Because, yeah, I had to drag you last time. You're like, I don't want to watch. You're like, I'm not watching this. I'm like, yes, we are. And you know what? It paid off.
Yep.
We've got some new images to preview for the show with Nubs and the crew having some hero poses. We also got a first look at a new couple of characters being put in charge of the crew with Zia's new Padawan, Wes Vinnick, and his astromech R0M1, which will probably be like Romy or something. It's probably how they'll... Romai. No, it's Romy, because he's Roman.
I'm just trying to think of stupid ways to say the name.
Ram. But we'll get to find out more about these characters as well as return to our favorite ones like Nubs pretty soon, actually, because it's starting August 14th.
Tabor violently beating people so that he can actually help people.
Yeah, we'll get back to Tabor. We do not get a picture of Tabor into the previews, unfortunately. Tabor is, we left him in a rough spot. He is unsure of himself one way or the other. He's like, am I good? Am I evil? I don't know. Keeping with the High Republic era, though, it seems not only are we getting volumes 3 and 4 for the Edge of Balance manga, but much like how we got an extra book during Phase 2 with Precedent, we're getting another one that will focus on Yoda called The Edge of Balance Premonition. We don't have a release date yet, but there was a now removed listing on Amazon that had it set for April 8th next year, obviously, which would put it between the releases of Volumes 3 and 4, which Volume 3 is coming out August, and then Volume 4 is currently set to release April 22nd. So, once again, obviously next year. That's all we really know about this book. That's all we know is we know it's about Yoda. We know it's a Edge of the Balance. It's Edge of Balance Premonition. That's it.
Yeah. Also, for those of you who are wondering why Caleb has a pair of headphones on and I don't, it's because we're testing out a new mic.
Yeah, I got a new mic system, so let us know in the comments how it sounds to y'all. We'll probably hear it before then, actually, because when I post it, I can watch the video before then. Mm-hmm. But still, say something, because we like having comments. Because I actually had a pretty good comment on my recent Diablo video.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I got one where, because I've been playing Diablo 1 for the channel, in case for those who might not know. And somebody was like, man, it would be cool if they did a resurrected version and put it on the Switch. Because they did for 2. 2 has a resurrected version. And it's on console. So that would have been... I agreed with him. I was like, man, that would be cool. Because then you could play all 4 on console. On the same console.
Can't have shit in Tristram.
Unless you item duplicate, which is what I've been doing lately. Then you can have all the things. Because I finally, like, as I'm near the end of the game, I'm like, oh, I learned about item duplication. Boop, 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 boop. And I do that just to get gold, so I don't have to worry about... Like, I do it less to have something, it's more to just have gold. So I'll item duplicate whatever most expensive armor I'm wearing, and then I'll buy the cheapest health potion to be the thing that turns into the armor. And so it is tough, though, because you have to time it just right. Because you have to, like, put the thing down, and then you run away. Like, you put the health potion, the thing you're going to turn into something else down. So I put my health potion down. No, other way around. Put down the thing you want to duplicate. Put it down in front of me. Walk away. But, like, keep the thing on screen. So walk away enough that it's still on your screen. And then you click on it like you're going to go pick it up. And then you have to quickly move your mouse over to your hot bar where your potions are. And then as you're picking up the thing that you're going to duplicate, you have to click on the thing that you're turning into that at the same time. So it's
a bit of finagling going on.
Yeah, so there are some clips of me just going, nope, didn't get it. Nope, didn't get it. and just slowly having to walk back to the rock next to Kane, and then go, "All right, Kane, you don't watch me do this." Oh, I got it that time. Hello there. Tells you how
Stay
many,
a while and listen.
tells you how long I've been playing Diablo 1. But we're almost there. We're on I think we're on level for the Patreon members anyways. We are on level 5. We're either on the last floor before Diablo himself, because I did look ahead to see how many levels there are. Sue me. There's the level 15, and then there's Diablo's level. So I think we're on level 15. I might have stayed on 14 because I didn't clear it. I was like, oh, the stairs to 15 are right here. But let me continue exploring 14. Yep. So I think that's what I did. So I think we might actually be on 14. But either way, we're almost done with Diablo 1. And then I got to do I don't have to do the DLC. DLC is not story important. I've read into that. I was like, do I have to do the DLC? Because I was like, do I get to play as my character still in the DLC? Like, if I finish the game now, can I do that? Because like, the way I read the DLC, I was confused. I was like, oh, is this a new dungeon that's in the game that they added? But do I have to start a new game in that version of the game for it to work? Or can I use a save from the old... I would assume I can use a save from the old version. If that's the case, I will play the DLC just to do the dungeon. Even though, from what I understand, it's not really relevant to the rest of the franchise. Because it also wasn't developed by Blizzard.
Yeah.
And also I've heard that the writing is kind of... And so, like, I've heard that Blizzard did not like it. It's also where some of the memes, I guess, come from for Diablo 1, like with the cow stuff. Because it's not in Diablo 1. I also managed to play around with PS1 Diablo 1. Because I forgot that it was also on PS1. So I've been kind of messing around with that on my own time. And I was like, oh, this isn't that bad. The controls aren't too terrible, and the map is still kind of okay. Like, it matches. But you can definitely tell it's a little bit lower in quality. But also, I'm playing it on an emulator, so it's bumped up still. So it's, like, better than the PC version. But you can tell that if I was playing it on a PS1 proper, it would not be. I also found out Baldur's Gate 1 was going to be on PS1 at one point. And there's a full release, like, somebody released the whole game. So,
we need to...
I know.
One of these days...
I need to finish the one with you and Drew. I need to finish the one with Britt.
One of these days, I'm just gonna yell at you and Andrew.
It's not even me, though. I told you, text me whenever y'all are free. It's really Drew being free. I know we got off topic, but this is fun for us to talk about. We're also not in a hurry this week.
I'm gonna yell at him.
But yeah, no, because I was talking about it with Britt yesterday. I was like, which is Thursday for us, because once again, Thursday, fun day. So I was talking about it. I was like, oh yeah, like, because I was thinking about Minsk, and I was like, man, I'm still mad that he wasn't on, like, somebody made a shirt on Etsy or whatever, and was like, with all the characters for Baldur's Gate 3. But no Minsk. Minthara's on the shirt. But not Minsk. You know, the entirely missable... Well, I guess Minsk is also missable. Because you could just not go after Minsk, but, like... Yeah. Minsk is important to me. He's my boy. Him and Boo. But yeah, no, so, like... we were talking about it because the reason we haven't continued, we switched gears, and I was like, oh, we'll just watch Highlander then, is because we were having trouble with the connection stuff. I think it's because even though I switched my version to not include the Siege of Dragonspear stuff, which was how we solved our problem with me, you, and Drew, and it did work the one time with me and Britt. For some reason, it stopped working. So I think I have to gift Britt Siege of Dragonspear and I also had to explain that before Baldur's Gate 3 came out, it was still a Baldur's Gate trilogy. Like, it was called the Baldur's Gate trilogy still because...
One, Siege of Dragonspear.
Nope, Siege of Dragonspear was created during the Enhanced Editions. It's 1, 2, and then it's the expansion for 2.
It's not the Black Pit.
No. No, Black Pit was also made for enhanced editions, and it's also not connected to the story. Because they called it the Ballspawn Saga, but then people would call it the Baldur's Gate Trilogy, right? So it would be the BGT. And that was because I think it's Throne of Ball. I think yeah, because it's Shadows of Amn, Throne of Ball, yeah. Because 2 is Shadows of Amn, because you go to Amn, finally. Because you get a lot of reference to Amn in 1.
Sorry, I was just thinking about that fucking book for Baldur's Gate.
Oh, yeah. But yeah, because there's a lot of reference to Amn, and, you know, yeah.
Yeah, like, while we were playing it, it's like a lot of people talk about but it's
like... Because they're another city-state, much like Baldur's Gate, because we're getting into D&D lore here real quick. Specifically Forgotten Realms lore. Most of the Sword Coast is just city-states.
Mm-hmm.
You got Neverwinter as your big one, along with Baldur's Gate and Waterdeep. Those are your big 3. And then you have like your lesser city-states that people know about. And most of them are part of like this Lords of, like, they got a Lords Alliance that all the lords of each one, like, they work together, and they're like, oh, if there's like a big incident that we got to deal with, then we're united on that, you know, forging alliances and basically making it like the Alliance from World of Warcraft, essentially. Sometimes they will fight, though, still. Amn is not generally usually part of that Lord's Alliance. They're a little bit further south. They're past the mountains that are further south beyond Baldur's Gate. But yeah, Baldur's Gate and Amn are kind of in one, like, butting heads, and they're, like, in a Cold War situation where it's like, we're gonna fight each other, but we're not.
Just give me a reason.
And technically, we are in Amn territory right now in our run. Because Nashkel is technically Amn territory. That's why there's a bunch of Omnian soldiers there. So we're technically in their territory.
I'm not worried about Omnian soldiers. I got more pressing concerns.
Like the bears.
Like bears and the occasional goblin who just fucking...
Or kobolds now.
Or kobolds.
Because in the dungeon we're in, we're dealing with fucking kobolds.
I got hit by a firing squad of kobolds.
Because they're all in that mine section.
Yeah. I was like, oh, this area hasn't been explored yet.
Meanwhile, it's weird because it should be Drew who's dying a lot, but he's not.
Yeah.
Because he's the mage of the group.
Yeah, he's a cleric.
He's a cleric. He's the magic user. He should be the meat shield. He should be the one getting killed all the time. And I'm the jack of all trades. Yeah. I'm kind of there.
But because I chose I was like, I'll go with Kensei. So the problem with me is I can hit anything I get close to. If I can hit it,
but you can't tank it.
But I can't get there.
You also can't tank it because you generally can't wear armor.
Mm-hmm.
Like, even if I hand you a helmet, which even most classes in BG1 are like, yeah, I can wear a helmet. Even if they're like a rogue, they can wear a helmet. You're like, nope, no helmet.
No helmet. No helmet, no armor.
And weirdly enough, with the run with me and Britt, we are struggling. And I think it's because even though I am just a straight fighter, I went straight fighter because I'm playing. Mm-hmm. I am playing semi-canonical Abdel Adrian, right? I'm playing because he's a human fighter. I am playing human fighter Abdel.
Mm-hmm.
That's not helping. But also, she is a mage class, and then we also don't have. It's just the two of us, so like. And I am carrying the duties of all the NPCs for her, so that way she can. So many NPCs have died in our run. Khalid is dead.
Oh. Well, damn.
It's okay. He'll come back. Because of stuff I know about Baldur's Gate 2. He'll come back for
a while.
Spoiler alert.
I don't think this one is required.
No, it is. Just in case. He comes back for like 10 minutes. Actually, no, not even. He's already dead by the time you start that game. Because they go, oh yeah, he got experimented on by the bad guy. He's dead.
Damn.
Jaheira is very upset, obviously, because it is her husband.
Mm-hmm.
Dinahir also dies the same way at the start of Baldur's Gate 2. Minsk also, obviously, very upset. Baldur's Gate 2 is a little... unlike Baldur's Gate 1, where they kind of, like... It's a free-for-all when it comes to, like, NPCs.
Mm-hmm.
And there's no NPCs, really, that are story... Like, there's no one that's, like, story important. Like, they're connected to the story, but they're not, like... Oh, you need this person to get the most out of the story. Baldur's Gate 2 kind of goes in a more... You start to see the BioWare of it. Because remember, these are BioWare games originally.
Mm-hmm.
So you start to see the BioWare style of characterization for NPCs where you're like, oh, companion characters have really good writing. One doesn't have it really as much. Although I have a soft spot for one. I like one a lot more than a lot of people do. But 2 is where it really, like, most of the fan base likes 2 the most. Because that's where you get your strong character companion writing. And it's also the game that's like, okay, you're gonna start with Minsk, Jaheira, and those are your main, like, steady ones that you probably want to keep around because they are connected to the story. And then you lose Imoen at the start, but the quest is go find Imoen, or save enough money to then hire people to take you to where you know Imoen is, and then save Imoen and then fight the bad guy who kidnapped her. But as well as some other stuff here and there, and I don't want to reveal too much.
Yeah.
Because you haven't experienced it yet. That's why I did the spoiler warning. Actually, it's like
for me,
for you. Also, in case I don't think Britt ever watches us, but just in case. I'm covering my bases.
I see.
Well,
we have gotten a bit sidetracked, as much as I love talking about Baldur's Gate.
Yeah, let's continue discussing news. Going into something still not Star Wars, but Star Wars adjacent. Okay, so I can get away with this. I'm a fan of Mel Brooks films. I don't know if you know that about me. We got some exciting, interesting news as we've learned that MGM has greenlit a Spaceball sequel. And it's going to be co-written by and starring Josh Gad, which, of course, for your reference, I gave was Olaf from Frozen. And you were like, Olaf from Frozen is writing a movie? And I'm like, he's done other stuff. Like, he's Broadway, and...
It's just the easiest one.
It's just the thing that I knew immediately you would know him from. He's also in the live-action Beauty and the Beast. He's LeFou. But so I'm interested to see, because it's also like, one of the producers is Mel Brooks, so they're bringing back Mel Brooks. He's still very lucid from what I've seen, but that man is very old. That man is, like, I think he's in his 90s. Double checking. Yes, he is almost 100. He is 97 years old. But he's still pretty lucid. He's still like it's
Mel
not.
Brooks is, I'm gonna be making movies until I die.
I mean, he hasn't been as heavily involved in the industry as he was, like, back in the 80s and 70s and even some of the 90s. But, like, he still does, like... he's been in Hotel Transylvania films. That's probably the most well-known thing that he's kind of done since kind of semi-retiring. He was also in Robots. He's the guy that owns he's the good guy that owns the company.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. He's the good robot who owns the company that the bad robot's trying to take over. Yeah.
That is a deep pull. From a movie I watched a lot as a child, actually.
And it's semi-connected to Star Wars because it's got Ewan McGregor in it. Hey!
McGregor playing in fucking Robots.
I think he's in it. Yeah, he's the main guy.
Oh, well, that explains a lot.
Yeah, I was gonna say no. I like you made me question it. I was like, Ewan McGregor's the main robot. I was thinking that, and you're like, who's Ewan McGregor in that? I'm like, wait a minute, am I remembering that right? No, I am. And then it's Amanda Bynes is in that before she kind of gave up on film, which she's living her best life now. Good for her. And then also you had like it had a good stacked cast. You had Robin Williams.
Mm-hmm.
You had Greg Kinnear, Drew Carey. Which
Yeah, that is a deep pull from my childhood, alongside Monsters Inc., Finding Nemo.
Greg Kinnear was the bad guy,
Not to be
wasn't
confused
he?
with all of the other really brutal things, such as the first Highlander,
But yeah, Mel Brooks.
which I was
yeah,
in Dusk Till Dawn.
yeah. But Mel Brooks was also like he also is Grandpa Dracula. He's Vlad in the Hotel
Okay.
Transylvania films. So he's still around doing some minor voice work, just not not as much, and he mostly does like producing now. Like they did a History of the World Part 2, which is a sequel to one of his films, but they did it as a TV show on Hulu. It actually was good. I thought it was fine. I'm curious if they will do a Part 3, or if they will do the joke again of like we say there's a Part 3 and then we don't do Part 3, because that was the joke of Part 1 initially, was that Part 2, and then they just were like, and we don't release Part 2. But now it's real. So, but we're similarly now we are getting a Spaceballs 2 sequel. It's currently slated to be directed by Josh Greenbaum, who is most recently known for his comedy film Strays, which was that like talking dog movie from last year. It's like it's basically a dog gets dropped off by a guy owner who doesn't want him anymore, and then they go to get revenge on his own. It's Will Ferrell and Jamie Foxx. I guess before I was talking about this before, because I was talking about the news with him before we started recording. He was acting like I have no clue what film you're talking about. I pulled up a picture just now, and he's like, "Oh yeah, that film." I hate this so much that I had to pull up a picture for that to work. But anyways, we're still in the very early stages of the film, so we don't really know when it's coming out yet. We don't know if it will come out because it's being written right now. So it's like they could write this thing and then go.
It may come out, it may not.
But if it is, I'm excited. This is not the first time we've heard about a Spaceball sequel happening, though. So like, because Mel Brooks has talked about doing this for a long time. He's talked about doing one when the prequels came out. He talked about doing one when the sequel trilogy started. So like, I will not hold my breath over this, but I will be happy about this. I do think it is weird to do it now, only because so many people that would be involved with it are dead. Like, almost so many people that were in the original are dead. Like, Bill Pullman's dead. John Candy's dead. Rick Moranis is retired. I don't know how they're going to get that man out of retirement. He won't even come back for a Ghostbusters film. Joan Rivers is dead. So, like...
So about 80% of the cast.
That's at least 3/4 of the main characters.
So 60%.
Of, like, the main, like, good, like, protagonists. Of our 4 that we follow, 3 of them are dead. In real life. And it's sad, because, like, great actors. Bill Pullman's great. John Candy's hilarious. Everybody loves, Uncle Buck and all of his other films, Joan Rivers, classic, comedian ahead of her time. But then you also have, like, Rick Moranis, who's not dead, but is also an iconic character in that film because he's Dark Helmet, but he's retired because of a very sad situation and circumstances that he stepped up for because family tragedy happened and he was like, I gotta retire and take care of my kids. And, like, respect, but also he hasn't come out of retirement since. Like, I think he's only done one film ever since then, and it was like a small bit, if I remember correctly. Like, he has not really stepped out since. Oh, yeah. He came out for, like, the Brother Bear films. That's it. Because he's one of the moose in that film. Mooses? Anyways.
I think it's just moose.
One of the moose. It sounds wrong, though. But, yeah. Apparently he might come back for the Honey, I Shrunk the Kids reboot. I doubt it. But he's listed on Wikipedia, but also it's Wikipedia. Anyways. Yeah, so I'm excited about Spaceballs. I don't know if you're a fan of Mel Brooks films. I don't know, actually, about that. I don't know that about you, if you are or aren't.
I don't... You would have to start naming them. And
Blazing Saddles, which is one of his more infamous one of his more famous ones. Young Frankenstein, Spaceballs, Robin Hood Men in Tights, History of the World Part 1. These are all like 70s and 80s type. They are spoof like movies and stuff like they are the grandfather they are the father of what we got for Scary Movie, right?
Okay.
They are the parody movies before Scary Movie, like. And I preferred the Mel Brooks style. I also like the first 3 Scary Movies, but then beyond that, they start to go away that I am not a fan of with parody films, and they created the very, in my opinion, bad genre of parody films, which is like the epic movie, action movie, all the Hunger Games parody films that are awful, because there are like 20 of those. There are so many of those. And then there's like the Vampires Suck, which is the Twilight one. Superhero movie was okay. Superhero movie was actually kind of funny.
Okay, so he mostly does like a bunch of parody work.
Yeah, that's like his work. And so like the thing I like about Mel Brooks, because it's on topic, so I think I can talk about it. The thing I like about Mel Brooks style is that we pick a genre, we pick a subgenre, and then we make fun of that specifically. We might make fun of the genre as a whole on a grander scale, but our main focus is making fun of that specific subgenre. So Spaceballs is absolutely making fun of Star Wars. In a wink wink nudge nudge, we're making fun, but also it's not at your expense. It's with we're making fun of it together. Like as a Star Wars fan, I appreciate Spaceballs. It is great. And so like Spaceballs is that, but there's also other sci-fi movie references. Like they have a scene. One of the funniest scenes actually is they go to a diner, a space diner, and they get some food, and
watch a space movie on the space team.
What's his name? Oh, I forget the actor's name all of a sudden. From Aliens, the guy who gets his chest bursted. He's in the film. Like, the actor is in the film. And he's playing the same character because he starts to, while they're eating, he starts to have his little panic attack like he does in Aliens. Or an Alien. And then and then the chest burster pops out and he goes, "Oh no, not again." And then it does the "Hello, my baby." It does the rag. It does that song, and then it runs off the little. It's great. I think it's one of the best bits that's not like moving the plot forward, like just a side bit that is great, and it's, but like I said, so it makes fun of the wider sci-fi as well, but its main focus is Star Wars.
Takes itself a little too seriously.
Yeah, but its main focus is Star Wars, right? Because it's the Schwartz instead of the Force. It's yogurt instead of Yoda. You got Dark Helmet. They make fun of the merchandising of Star Wars because yogurt goes on a spiel about like, we got Spaceballs the lunchbox, Spaceballs the t-shirt, Spaceball. So it's making fun of the merchandising of Star Wars, which at this time it's still before the prequels. So this is still like, and the prequels, I'd say, were even more merchandised than the original trilogy. And so, funny. And then, whereas my problem with like more modern parody films is they don't stick to a genre. Like Scary Movie 1, 2, and 3. I think they fit that mold still that I like, which is they pick haunted films, like scary films. They pick horror movies as their wider genre they're making fun of. But then they also have their niche genre, like their subgenre to it. So one is about making fun of slashers, specifically Scream and I Know What You Did Last Summer. Those are their specific films that they make fun of. But also they make fun of the horror genre as a whole, or slashers as a whole. And maybe there's a couple mentions of pop culture, like there's a Matrix scene in Scary Movie 1. And there's one in... No, 2 is actually Charlie's Angels. And you start to... 2, actually, you kind of start to see the downhill slope of where parody films are going. Because I watched 2 again recently, and I was like, this is not as good as I remember it. It's not bad, but it's definitely not as good as I remembered it. And 2 is they focus on the haunted house genre. Like they do the haunted, they do Hell House, they do haunt House on a Hill. That's what they're focused on in 2. And then 3 is the alien subgenre because they do what's the M. Night Shyamalan one? Signs. They do Signs. That's the one they're really focused on in that one. But they also weirdly go with The Ring also, so I guess extra, like, I don't know what they're doing when they get to 3.
Aliens put a ghost in
and then
VCR.
Yeah, like, well, it's not even that, because it's still the Ring girl in the VCR, like, I don't know what they do with 3. I like the alien part. I actually do like the Ring part. I think it works in a weird way, even though it's 2 different subgenres. Like, you got, because one is more paranormal and more, what's the word, like, not religious, but it's like that type of occult type genre, because that's kind of what the Ring is. It's like occult / like spirit, like paranormal stuff. And then you got Signs, which is aliens. And so, but after that, it's like, now we just make fun of whatever is popular. Because, like, Epic Movie had, like, I don't know what Epic Movie was doing. Epic Movie's like, we're making fun of 300. We're making fun of Marvel. We're making fun of... It's like, pick a genre. An Epic Movie is not a genre if you're making fun of MCU as well. Like, the epics are a genre. But also, Epic Movies don't exist in the same... Like, they haven't existed since if we're being honest, the 60s in the same way. Like, you don't have a Ben-Hur. You don't have a Ten Commandments. Like, those movies, you know what I mean? Like, that's my movie spiel. I'm done. Last piece of news. In comic news, it appears the predictions that we were making, as well as other people, of issue 50s for both Star Wars and Darth Vader will be the end of the Empire Strikes Back to Return of the Jedi run. Thank God. Because Marvel...
Finally, it's over.
Because Marvel has given official synopses for both of the issue 50s for those books, and it really hints towards them being the end, because they're like talking about how like this is gonna be the end of like these big arcs, and like the Star Wars one we get a Ben Solo mention because they're gonna jump ahead to him teaching Ben Solo. Also, they are oversized editions, which are also signs that probably the last, because you don't do an oversized edition for no reason. It's either an anniversary book, which is not what issue 50s are, or it's your first issue, obviously not an issue 50, or it's like part of an event, but there's no event going on. So, because the only ongoings right now left are Star Wars and Vader. All the other ongoings have ended, so there's no crossover events really going on. They will be out by September, so we'll know for sure pretty soon what Marvel is planning next. Are you a movie as excited as the rest of comic book Star Wars readers that we're done with this era?
I've heard a lot of people complain about it. I understand why.
It's the issue that like we were joking about with like the attack with the Clone Wars era. There's just so much in that era that it doesn't, like, we need to move on.
Yep.
All right, time for our main topic. The official spoiler warning. This one is for our main topic, Temptation of the Force. We've read it.
By Miss Tessa Gratton, and they did a really good job.
Yeah, Tessa Gratton. I am glad, because is this? Let me double check. I don't think this is their first one solo, but it might be for the High Republic stuff. No, they did Quest for Planet X solo, but it is the adult novel, so that's a bump up for them. And I think they did fantastic. It's definitely the middle book of the trilogy. You can definitely tell, but that in a good way. In a good way. It's not quite Empire Strikes Back level like every other middle story in a trilogy with Star Wars. Because every other middle story in a trilogy with Star Wars is like, all right, we start on a downer and we end on a downer. This one ends on a I don't know.
This one ends on a we're working on it.
This one ends on a what the fuck?
Yeah.
But a fun what the fuck. Like a I need the next book now. What the fuck?
Yeah. So what do you want to talk about first? Because there's a lot to talk about.
Elzar and Avar. Fucking finally.
Thank God.
I wrote that in the chat when I got to that chapter. Because, okay, so, like Tessa said, this book is really, like, it's really a Bell and
there are four separate plot lines.
There are four separate plot lines, but it's mostly a Bell and Burry book.
Yeah.
But, like, with the conversations of Avar and Elzar being still very important. And you get those 3 to 4 major conversations. I think it's 3 major ones, but yeah. And, of course, we've read the
also,
first one.
I think this is the first book in which we see things from Buryaga's point of view.
I think Light of the Jedi gave us some of Burry's. Because we got his, like, filling what was going... Which they reference a lot in this book, by the way. They reference him saving people in Light of the Jedi a lot. Because they're like... Because one of the major things with Burry is his empathy, his empathic nature with the Force. And that's something that they're like, oh yeah, in Light of the Jedi. They don't say in Light of the Jedi, obviously, but they're like, when we save the people on Hetzal, that your empathy saved them. And so that is also a solution to something that we can talk about in a little bit. But I want to talk about Avar and Elzar because we have been getting... I'm going to get really saucy here with my language, but we have been getting edged so fucking hard with that relationship since the start of this series. I feel like it's an appropriate term for this.
You know what? You're not wrong.
We have been getting edged so hard with this relationship, and we are finally getting like movement going with it. And it's just like, thank fucking Christ. And it's like, and it's 3/4 through the book too, because it's chapter 36. Because I wrote it in the chat. It's in the chat. Chapter 36. They finally fucking kiss. And acknowledge their shit. And they're like, yeah, we love each other, but also Elzar's like, I'm going through a lot of shit. I've got a master and apprentice thing going on where they want me on the council.
And I don't know what to do.
I'm a Qui-Gon right now. I don't want that. He does turn that down.
Yeah. Also,
which might have been a smart decision for Elzar.
Yeah. Also,
Here, you come in a little bit. You're off. You can scoot the chair. Yeah, you're just off frame a bit. There you go.
Also, when they first ask him,
his response is to immediately the way. So I know the audiobook doesn't say it this way because they do give it a little more hesitation. But I like the way that I would have interpreted that is like he just immediately goes, "I killed somebody."
Yeah.
He's like, "I'm a murderer,"
and they go, "Yeah, we've all killed people."
He's like, "But no, I."
And then like he goes,
he explains it.
It's one of those ones where I'm like, "Look, man,
time and place."
No, actually, I'm like, this is about as good as a place as it's gonna be.
I think that's what Elzar's. I mean, we get his thoughts on it. He's like, I would have preferred not to have it here. I would have preferred to, say it at a not this time when they're trying to give me a promotion like this. But also, if they're gonna give me a promotion like this, I should probably say something.
No.
So, uh, so yeah, and of course, so he's still dealing with a lot of that shit because I think it's unfair. The conversation that because we talked about this conversation. I think it's unfair how Vernestra treated Elzar in that situation because he does feel bad about it. It's not I feel good about this.
But I'm remembering I remember also going and looking through Sawyer's thing. So I know a lot of people listen to the audio ones, and they're like, it sounds a lot.
It does sound different.
It sounds very different. But because I'm reading that, reading is very flat. Where I'm like, oh, Elzar's just asking for her opinion, as a peer, and not as oh, you're my niece.
But that's not, yeah.
That's how I saw it. But
the reality is, yeah. Go ahead, sorry.
But from what I've heard from the audio, or how people were describing it, is that it sounds a lot more pleading.
It is, and that's where the issue lies, because he's he wants forgiveness from somebody, but he's going to the wrong person for it, really, and he's also not. He also wants forgiveness so he can just move on with it, which is not good. That's the bad part, and I think here we get to see him struggle with that finally, of being like, maybe I should have just said from the beginning, and but also it makes him wonder if he is worthy as a Jedi. I think we get some interesting conversations for Elzar, not just with the Avar stuff, but relating to the Avar stuff. I think I like the moment where Avar kind of explains love to him. I like that moment, because it's because he's struggling, because he's we really shouldn't It's weird because it's flipped. Avar now is all for their relationship, and Elzar's now the hesitant one, whereas before it was the other way around.
Yep.
So Elzar's now I don't know if we should, but it's mainly because all Elzar is thinking about is the fact that I killed people. I'm the reason that Starlight Beacon went down. I'm the reason Stellan's dead. All of that is in the back of his mind during this book.
Yep.
And so that's why he's struggling to be okay with love, and Avar is no, love is fine. It's the once again, it's attachment that's the issue. And I like that he realizes this even more with the Gira and Lena So and him lunch that they have.
Yep.
where Gira's hey, you want your son, well, I want my daughter, to Lena. And Lena's I do want my son, but I'm also not going to risk my morals for it. And that's kind of showing...
So I can't tell you where your daughter is.
Yeah. Also, I respect her autonomy, even though she's only 15 or 16. 16, yeah. So... But also, this is a case of she is at university, so it's in the Star Wars universe, we've learned 16 is essentially adult. It's not, but it's essentially you're in college, you're you're drinking. So at this point, there is a specific amount of autonomy that Avon does have now as Sunvel. But also, it's the morals of it, because Lena's I'm not gonna, help essentially a terrorist group, just so I can get my son again. And then also it turns out Gira's I don't even know where he is. I'd have to find him. And so,
all right.
But Elzar realizes in that moment, he's oh, this is love without the bad attachment, because Lena showed love, but also was willing to hold her morals for it. And he even admits that that's what he notices, because then he has a talk with Yoda, which is my other favorite scene, because we see Yoda...
Elzar's talking with a lot of people in this book.
And I love...
And they're good talks for him to have.
Yes, and oh my god. So we've talked about it now. This will now be 3 weeks in a row that we've talked about this. The episode 3, Revenge of the Sith talk with Anakin and Yoda. Elzar does what Anakin should have done. Elzar's like, here's all the information. Elzar's like, I am in love with Avar. Avar's in love with me. What do we do about this? He holds no information back.
Yep.
So once again, this is what Anakin does. So this is for anybody that gets mad that Yoda's like, oh, here's advice that doesn't really apply here because that actually kind of is bad advice for the situation. It's because Anakin doesn't give all the information. Elzar shows us what we should do. And then we get good... Yoda gives very good advice because he is given all the information. And Elzar takes that advice. He's like, yeah, I can balance, yeah. Because basically Yoda's advice is, go ahead and do it. Like, you can do this, but you also need to, like, it's basically because he thinks back on Orla's advice, which from Rising Storm, which is, you fall down, you get up. You fall to the dark side, you gotta recover from that. Which is also then, in a way, an explanation for why the council reacts the way they do when Elzar's like, I murdered someone. Because then you realize, okay, it's the fact that you are still trying to get back to the light that matters. Which is Yoda's advice for Elzar, which is, as long as you are striving for the light, there is nothing wrong with what you're doing.
It's crazy how the council essentially already hit Elzar with a, yeah, we already know, man. You're trying your best.
Yeah, because that's really Elzar's lesson, is to keep doing his best and keep, really all you can do is move forward. You can't live in the past of your mistake, because then you're not going to learn from it. You have to learn from it and then move forward with it. You go, okay, I made this mistake. Here's how I do better. And then just do better. And that's really Elzar's character growth. Like, that's his arc, really, is learning to do that. Is learning to just move forward and do better. And going into the argument of how the reading of that scene with Vernestra and him goes, that's the issue, right? Is he's pleading for forgiveness because he can't let go of it. And that's the problem, is he can't just move forward from it. And that's why Vernestra's like, look, you gotta tell them. Otherwise you can't. Plus also responsibility. You gotta have personal responsibility. And so, like, obviously they don't go to Lena So and go, hey, he's the reason that Starlight Beacon went down. Because I think...
that would be a bad decision.
Yeah. Like, we're not at that level yet. But, like... And honestly, we see that, yeah, Elzar can still do what he needs to do. Now that he knows the path that he has to take. Meanwhile, Avar's doing a bunch of rescue missions and planning... basically, the whole... Their main plot outside of the romance aspect is planning this big... Well, there's a couple things. It's initially the recapture of Naboo. As well as the destruction of...
Incapacitate the lightning crash, retake Naboo.
Yeah.
Those are the two big ones.
And then, ultimately, at the end of the book, like, at the halfway, after those things happen, it becomes, okay, now we gotta get Marchion Ro. So, we need to find him, because right now, nobody knows where he is. That's kind of the Marchion plot, is he's...
Kira doesn't know, Bulin doesn't care, Vice is concerned.
Yeah, she's too busy fighting Porter.
Yeah.
Because the prologue is, Porter's alive.
Yep.
Hell yeah.
Hell yeah.
So we get a Porter Engle POV.
Porter and Vice spend so much of this book just trying to either find or kill each other.
I love the way General Weiss is doing... I was not going to call it out, but I laughed at the fact that I corrected it. Audiobook pronunciation. General Weiss, his whole thing is just calling Porter out and going like, "Look at me, I'm right here. Come get me." And Porter's like, "I know it's a trap,
I know.
but I'm gonna go into it."
I'm gonna go into it.
And that basically happens like 3 times in the book.
Yep.
And it's great.
VS.
I do like that we get Baresh references.
Mm-hmm.
Makes me more excited about the new Porter comic that we'll eventually get for this one, because I need more.
Yep.
Need more Porter and more Baresh and more. I just love the rivalry going on with Porter and Weiss. It's so good.
It's just Porter and Weiss pointing at the WrestleMania sign.
I'm coming for you. So does that make Weiss? Weiss is definitely the heel.
Yeah, what are you talking about?
Can we talk about the part that really pissed us off with her?
Oh yeah, where she decides to fucking shish kebab Plinka for no reason.
It's not for no reason, but it is evil.
Yeah.
I initially read that as, oh my god, she killed Plinka.
I didn't say
At first.
I didn't say that, but I don't know if I got there before you did.
I think you did just a little bit before me.
Okay. I was like, I need the what
Oh, what was the exact text?
Cuz I don't think I spoiled anything.
No.
In it.
No, okay, so no, I did pass that. I did pass it before you said it. Cuz I was still seething about it though. I did not get to the next part where they showed, oh, Plinka's alive. Cuz they mentioned Plinka's blood going cold. I'm like, "Oh my god, did she kill is Plinka dead?" Cuz I will say I was confused at first with the way it's written. It's written very much like, "Oh, she fucked Plinka up."
Yeah.
I can't wait for Porter to kill Weiss. That bitch has to go. That's the exact quote from Seth.
Yeah. I was like, you fucking asshole.
But she did it to dig into Cairn, as well as try to maybe get Zaylan Graff to come back.
Yeah.
Because it's Zaylan's dog.
Yeah. It's like, why is Zylan Graff's dog hanging out with you?
Yeah, and so meanwhile, Zylan's already crossed the occlusion zone and is already like, here's all the info you want. Yep. Well, most of the info. I'm not going to give all of it. Also, I love the discovery that Zylan and Karen are married. They're like, wait, your husbands? It's like, and then the Santegas were like, yeah, but the other Santegas are so pissed about it.
Yeah. An unexpected pairing that I actually really enjoyed watching was Zylan and Vernestra having the fuck you rich boy, shut it Jedi. Because that's what their relationship is.
So let's dive into Bell and Burry's story a bit.
Yeah.
Because they are
Bell and Burry making sure they don't get each other killed.
Well, they're also carrying a lot of the main plot. They have the meat of this book, really, and which I love. Because I love Bell, I love Burry, so I'm glad they're front and center, as they should be. And so they are looking into the...
looking into Drengir sightings at the start.
Yeah, but it's also...
And also a couple of relief missions.
Yeah, they're mostly doing relief missions, and they happen to realize, oh, there's some Drengir shit going on at the same time.
Yeah.
And so there's apparently some sightings on some of these planets, and then they eventually find one that is dying.
Mm-hmm.
And also, I love that Bell has been learning Shriwook, and I think that is one of the sweetest moments in this book where It's like Bell has been doing it because he loves his best friend, and Burry's like the only other person who bothered was my master who died in the first book.
Yeah.
And so it's just like, oh, not even Avar bothers.
Yeah. Avar, I don't understand Treewook. I'm sorry.
And so they find one that's dying, and Burry can, because of his empathic nature, he can sense that it is not connected to the great progenitor.
Yeah.
And we learn that, oh yeah, by the way, the great progenitor was still on Starlight Beacon when it fell. So it might be out there, and that might be why
presuming they're not dead, it's at the bottom of the Irem Ocean, and I don't know if that'll kill it or not.
And so, yeah.
Which prompts the question, if it dies, what happens to the Drangir?
And so, I think it's dead, actually.
I'm not taking chances.
I think it's dead only because of the way things are going with the Drangir storyline, because it's that Drangir was not connected to the whole, and it seems none of the Drangir are.
Yeah.
Currently, they're not connected to the hive mind, which is why that one dies, because it's weak and it's not getting fed. It's not connected to the hive mind. We also learned that that the Drangir popping up are also connected to the blight that we learned about in Defy the Storm.
Yep.
Because, and of course, I love the Cairn. I love Avar realizing, oh yeah, Cairn's missing arm is because of the blight. Because Elzar's like, hey, have you talked to Cairn about that? Because he's one of the first people that we learned about running into that. And Avar's like, wait, what?
Yeah, I thought you read the report.
She's like, his name wasn't mentioned in the report.
You should go talk to him. Because his hand is what let us know about this.
Yeah. And so, but yeah, so all that's coming together.
Oh, and the reason why Buryaga cares a lot is because for this mission, there's a species that uses the trees on this planet for, like, birthing their young. And they are having a hard time finding another spot for them to be able to call home.
Yeah. And on top of that, and so, like, the Blight is involved, and the Nihil are coming, and every problem that could happen is happening.
Yep.
And so, eventually, though, we're gonna, like, jump ahead, like, a lot.
Yep.
So, they figure out about the connections between all these things. They figure out the Drangir are kind of popping up. We get the Battle of Naboo going on, and we get, like, because Bell and Buryaga are involved with that. And then they go back to their Drangir mission. And they also deal with the Nameless.
Yeah.
And
Buryaga tries a trick, and it works.
Yeah, and I'm gonna say a very controversial statement. At least to certain members of our Star Wars circle. It's very Dawn of the Jedi. Legends Dawn of the Jedi, the solution to the Nameless. Feeding into the fear to deal with the Nameless. It's very leaning into the dark side a bit just to get into the light again. Which is very Dawn of the Jedi, specifically because of how the Force sabers work during in Legends, which is you have to have your dark side emotions going to turn the Force saber even on. And so you have to, and of course Dawn of the Jedi's whole thing is balancing your, like, it's no longer canon, but like in Legends, it was very much balance was literal. You did your light side and your dark side. But obviously we now know in canon that that's not how the Force works in canon. that kind of balance does not work. And so it's interesting that that's the solution in this. Which is also why the council's very hesitant about it. Because the council's like,
and Brianna's like, it didn't feel good.
But it worked.
I mean, it did the trick, but also I hated it.
Yeah.
Because it actually physically hurt.
And it has to be used again later because Avar and Elzar and Burry work together to do it again.
Because there's another nameless.
And so, and it seems so far that they're the only three that can really do it. But that we don't know if the Jedi as a whole can do it, and and the Council is not willing to experiment with that. The Council's
or
like,
if this is just like a specific thing unique to the three of them.
And the Council is very hesitant to be like, yeah, every Jedi should try that just in case. It's like, so I'm interested to see where that goes. Although it looks like they're gonna put that on pause.
Yeah.
Because of Markion's POV. Markion
is being a little science rat.
Yeah, he's like, let's experiment with the Nameless, let's experiment with the Drengir, let's experiment with the Blight.
Which he's just taking a bath in, essentially.
Yeah, and basically he's hopping planet to planet where basically the way his MO, which the Jedi and Republic eventually discover so that way they can find him, is they basically discover his MO is go to a planet where the Drengir have been sighted back in Phase 1, plant some seeds there, see what happens. And
his original plan was to use Drengir later when they fully bloomed. Unfortunately, this Blight thing is kind of fucking that plan up, so he's like, alright, back to the drawing board.
So it's just plant them and see what happens, and messing with the rod to see if he can control his Nameless still, because they have been experimented on more, and so they're kind of stronger, but he's worried that I don't want to lose control of them.
Yep.
Because Bulin keeps making them stronger. And then on top of that, he also realizes the rod can keep him safe from the Blight.
Also, he's talking with Marta.
Yeah,
dad sometimes.
Which makes sense because we already know that the Rowe family in particular have issues with seeing the ghost versions of the Everany. They very much have a Shakespeare thing going on.
Rowe's just like, thanks, Grandma.
Except no, he's trying to ignore her anytime she talks to him. He's like, I don't want to talk to you.
I am not picking up that collect call.
You are not here. So he's also going crazy. Because we also know once Marta started seeing those, that's when Marta kind of went batshit insane and also evil. Like, and Markion's already evil, so, you know, add this on top. It's only gonna get worse from here.
Meanwhile, Gira is
she is trying to hold what he's got going together. She's like, fuck, I need to we gotta make this legitimate. We gotta fix this up. Also, we don't know where the fuck he is, but I can't say that. Also, I want my fucking daughter. But Avon also is like,
Avon,
no, Mom, I'm. Oh my God, that conversation, so good. So Avon meets with Mom because Elzar's like, hey, do you mind, like maybe she'll give us some information if it's from you. And Avon's like, I don't want to, but okay. So she goes to meet with Mom. They have it out. Gira's like, you don't understand the real world. Avon's like, I do, and you're just a bad person. Gira's like, sometimes you gotta be a bad person to get what you want. Avon's like, no, it's not worth it.
It's the It's the politician's kid. Mom, you're kind of evil. And it's like, yeah, but I'm doing it for you.
It's like, well, I don't want you to do that for me, so therefore you're not doing it for me, you're doing it for you.
Like, why are you here?
Yeah, and so then she's like, I need information about Markion. She gives her the best information she can.
Mm-hmm.
And then they have it out one more time. And then Avon leaves on the best line. The one that just makes Gira, like, slack jaw, hand on chest, like, grasping her pearls. And it's, I'd rather be proud of you, even if it means you're dead.
Mm. She's like, fucking son.
And Kira's like, God damn, that's too good of a line. I can't. And before she can even have a comeback to that, Avon's gone. Best line to walk out on.
Yep.
You know,
unrelated to that, General Vise could have killed Porter if her pride hadn't gotten in the way.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah. No, it's definitely that.
Porter's like, Porter, you should have killed me when you had the chance.
I think though, also to General Vise, it's a game.
Yeah,
it's a game. It's a cat and mouse game, and I think a part of her does not want it to end.
Mm. I will say, there's a lot of times in fiction where I don't necessarily think that people write mercenary-ish villains very well. I think General Vise is a really good mercenary villain.
Yeah. Yeah, she is.
Because most of the time it's like, oh, well, they just want money, so that's why they're doing all this awful stuff.
And while Vise wants money, that's, at the end of the day, it's also, she's just evil.
She just fucking likes it.
She's like, I do this job not just for the money, it's because I love it.
Mm.
It's like, yeah, that makes sense. You kill people because you want to kill people. That's why you're a mercenary.
Yeah. And Porter being like, at the start of the book when he like has to run away because fuck, they're nameless here. It's one of the ones where he's like, oh, that's right, I've been fighting her and trying to do things like a Jedi.
I need to think like a mercenary.
I need to...
Which is why, like, Porter's going down a dark side path right now. He is. He's got... But also, he's still sticking to the light. But he's definitely playing... He's playing with dark side.
A lot of people are playing with dark side in this book.
Not Yoda.
Well, Yoda doesn't count.
But no, he's definitely like... Well, I mean, it is called Temptation of the Force. So, it makes sense. But yeah, so like, he's tiptoeing. He is...
A lot of... Everyone is tiptoeing.
It's interesting. Because, like, there's that line where she's like... when she has the gun pointed at Karen. And she's like, I'll fucking kill him. And it's like... They argue about whether or not, like, that's to draw him in. Like, to get a Jedi to be a Jedi, right? It's that logic. Except Porter just spits back, oh no, I'd hunt you even if it was just you and me out here.
It's like, I don't give a fuck.
It really is just a wrestling, like, it's just a wrestling rivalry.
She's like, I'll fucking snap this child's spine, Angle. Porter, I don't care.
It's the 90s Spider-Man cartoon, shocker. I'll hunt you till the ends of the earth. It's just like, Jesus.
He's so mad.
So I think, and of course, then Avon is like, yeah, it makes sense that you're, or Avar's like, yeah, it makes sense that you're out here, and it's best that it is just you. So I'll stay out of your way.
Avar's like, I'm not getting involved with that.
But I do need a team for Markion.
Yep.
Unfortunately, the one time they almost get Markion, he had just left. Yep. Essentially.
And they go, did he know we were coming? And they're like, that's impossible. We were here for like 3 seconds.
Nope. And it's more of a case of Markion was just done there. He's like, I got what I needed.
Yep.
Like, Markion has no clue that
they got him They almost got him while he was pulling out of a fucking Wendy's. That's what it feels like.
Let's go ahead and because we're getting to the hour 30 mark. So let's talk about this ending.
Okay. What?
Holy fuck!
That is a bold ass move.
Okay, so to give the information you need for this ending to work. Gira. So throughout the negotiations that they're having with Gira, Elzar, and Lena, it's basically, hey, Gira wants to legitimize the Nihil zone and the Occlusion zone as its thing and make it like officially mark territory and go, these are the lines between the Republic and the Occlusion zone.
Mm-hmm.
And so the problem with that is, to get that to happen is Lena and Elzar want to hear it from the man himself that this is what he wants.
Yes.
Because they've heard this promise before. And then Markion does some wild shit.
Yep.
And we haven't heard from Markion in a while, and he's kind of been missing. So, and the more he's missing, the more we're worried he's gonna pull up and do some wild shit.
Because it's what's happened every other time.
Yeah, every other time he goes quiet, when he does appear, something bad happens. So, we want to hear from the man himself that he wants peace. And so, finally, Markion gets word that this is going on, and is like, okay, I'm gonna show up. So, he pulls up. He's got his
directly
name
to the Senate building on Coruscant, mind you.
Yeah, like to the landing pad right there with his Nameless in tow, and they're like, "Whoa, whoa, whoa! Nameless, stay on the landing pad."
And he goes, "All right,
that's fair." And so there's a couple things he's collected during his studies. He's got this flower as well and he still has the rod, and so these two things are very important because they're stuff that he presents as part of his evidence of what's about to go down. And basically, he comes out immediately going, yeah, I need you guys. Like, they get a little bit of tit for tat first, but then they get, when they get to it, he's like, yeah, the blight is bad for me too.
And while I'm unaffected by it, holds up the flowers as they're like dying. This is not the case for everyone else.
Yeah, and basically, because they're like, wait, you're not affected by it? He's like, nope. And I don't know why entirely. Although
I have a couple of guesses.
And so he's like, for now we have a common problem. So, yes, peace. And then that's the end of the book. God. So now you see why I immediately want the next book.
Yeah. It's peace. For now.
It's we have a common problem.
And once it's resolved, we can all get back to doing what we were doing.
Yeah. So, yeah, and so we were discussing on the way here about the theories about that, because I was like, wait, he sort of invented he unintentionally invented the blight, though, so it's his problem that he made, but he also hasn't presented that information yet. Probably something that's going to come up in the next few books. And then, of course, on top of that, you know, the rod, so he does kind of know what can stop it, but he also doesn't know if that's 100% what's going on and how that works. And so there's a lot. And I like this book. This is a straight up 9 out of 10. Straight up.
Yeah. I'll give it the same.
I am tempted for 10 out of 10. I am so tempted. Because this book was so good. You know what? Fuck it. 10 out of 10.
Alright, I think that's the second one you've ever given on the show.
Yeah, because the other one was for Claudia Gray, right? Yeah. For Falling Star. So yeah, 10 out of 10. So this is up here with Falling Star for me. It is, because it is so good. It's a great middle book. You can you can jump into it without any knowledge really of the other books. if you have that knowledge, it works more, but you don't need that knowledge, which is weird for a middle book in a trilogy to be able to do that, to pull that off.
Yep.
Because they give all the information and they don't do it in a way of like, here's what happened. No, they like naturally talk about things that are important to this book that happened in other books. And then really the only thing that would like make you want to go back is the relationship between Avar and Elzar, to just see where that happened, like where that started from.
Yeah.
And I'm curious to see where it goes going forward though, because they had sex. It's just,
oh yeah,
it was just off cam or off page, like, because they wake up the next morning afterwards. We get the morning after scene. So I am curious to see where their relationship goes going forward. And I'm curious to see if this creates a bigger issue on, because we learned that Anakin can't get married if he wants to stay in the Jedi Order, right? Because Obi-Wan mentions you will be expelled if like they talk about the fact that you can't be a Jedi if you're married. So I'm curious if this relationship has anything to do with them being more strict on that, because they're not that strict about it in any other media until the prequels, really.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm curious if that strictness comes from a mistake that happened beforehand, and if we're going to see that mistake here, or if it's something that will be like in a later thing. So I'm curious. So anyways, 10 out of 10, 9 out of 10. So I think that means we recommend this shit.
Yep.
Go check it out.
Yeah.
Thank you all for watching today's episode of Escape Reality Star Wars Talk. I've been your host, Caleb. Be sure to like, comment, follow, subscribe to us. You can find us at Escape Reality Films on YouTube, Twitch, Kick, and TikTok. You can also show your support for us by joining our Patreon at Escape Reality Films. Shout out to Jennifer Brantley.
Yo.
As well as we got a new Patreon member. I want to make sure I get their name right, because we did get somebody. They're actually a higher tier than somebody popped into our
yeah, I saw that.
And they already had the tag, and I was like, oh, so they're our new member. So Ilkohan is what it shows on one thing, so I think it's Illy something is what it is in Discord, right? And so shout out to them. Amazing. Glad you popped in. Welcome to the B9 tier. They got the B9 tier. They're on Jeff tier. So shout out to you guys. On Patreon, you can watch our YouTube content before it's publicly available, including some new D&D stuff that's about to be brought on there, because we're about to continue our Grim Hollow stuff, and we're about to start a Ravenloft campaign. So you can show your support for us by joining our Patreon that way. And also be sure to check out our Discord, which is also linked wherever you are watching, so you become a part of our community. And you can listen to us play those D&D games when they happen. We also have Thursday kind of event nights where Britt and I, we talked about it earlier in the episode, Britt and I kind of just take turns being in charge. And lately it's Highlander and Life is Strange, and after Life is Strange, I think we're going to go back to Supernatural on her days, but we'll see.
Sometimes I show up and
just hang out.
And
that's really what it's about, just hanging out. So yeah, you can also find me on Twitter at EscapeReality94 and Facebook, Instagram, and Threads at Caleb.Lockwood. Speaking of D&D.
You can catch some friends of ours every Sunday from 5 to 7 Central Standard Time over at Trials of Naboo on YouTube at the Steam Dungeon. I have no idea what's going on.
But go check them out. Once again, thank you all for watching. Join us next week as we have a comic double feature with Hyperspace Stories Volume 3, Light and Shadows, and the High Republic Phase 3, Volume 1, Children of the Storm. I've spoken.
Y'all be safe out there.